Hello everybody, welcome to the Worldhoticen터. I want to welcome all the Korean agricultural students to this tour today. We will visit the whole Worldhoticen터. Let me briefly introduce myself first. I'm one of the horti experts here at Worldhoticen터. My background is that I have been an entrepreneur in horticultural business for a long period, for more than 15 years. Have been growing my own plants, so I've been a tomato grower, also a flower grower. And next to that I'm basically a horti expert, a consultant, training people into growing plants and working with high-tech greenhouse techniques. I would like to invite you inside where I can start the presentation, so to give you more insights of what Worldhoticen터 is all about. Follow me. As you can see, this statue shows that our Queen Majesty of the Netherlands opened this center in 2018, and we are very proud of that. So let's go inside. As you can see, this is the entrance, and where you're looking at here to the top is basically, simply explained, is the canteen for all the students we have here in this facility. Before going inside, I would like to give you a presentation to give you some insights about the center. As you can see on the screen, we have basically just showed you the outside of the center. My name is Jan Enthoven. And as always, first something about the history of this area. This area is familiar of its greenhouses, but we didn't start with high-tech greenhouses. As you can see here on the photo, we started with hotbeds. That was around 1900, so more than a decade ago, where growers would make wooden rods and put glass in between, where they could put a stick, as you can see here, under the glass, and do the work basically in their hotbeds. Why did they use those hotbeds? Now, for a few reasons, basically to protect the plant against the outside circumstances, but also, as the name says, it's a hotbed, so you can start earlier in the season and continue longer with your production. So that was the main reason to use those things. Of course, this is quite labor intensive because you have to sit on your knees every day. The greenhouses, of course, developed. After the Second World War, you see that the distribution of food and vegetables was done by boat, so from land on the boat to the auction. Nowadays, of course, we do everything with trucks and trailers, but we still have the canals in this area and also some old auctions where you can see how those kind of things worked. As you can see here on the right side of the screen, we see here they are building glass greenhouses, mainly used for growing grapes. So we are a famous grape growing country as well. And the difference is basically you see that we are building up higher. This is a sort of A-type, knee-type greenhouse. If you visit this area, there are still some examples left where they still grow grapes, but mainly for demonstration purpose, not for commercial use anymore. Basically the hotbeds, that's the start of the Venlo type greenhouse. So if you have seen the Venlo type greenhouse, it's a sort of V-shape. Simply explained, they have the hotbeds and they put wooden rods under the hotbeds, making it easier to walk in the greenhouse and to let the plants grow up higher, like tomatoes, peppers and those kind of things. And they basically started developing that system, because from wooden rods they changed it into metal and aluminium, so the panels could be bigger, stronger. Let's say in 1990, before 1990 the greenhouses were 2 meters, 3 meters high. After 1990 they started growing up to 4 meters, 5 meters, and nowadays the greenhouses will be, the high-end, high-tech greenhouses will be somewhere between 7 and 8 meters tall. The main reason for that height is that if you have a greenhouse, let's say from only 3 meters or 2 meters tall or high, the top of the plants are very close to the window panels. So if you open the panels just a little bit, the cold or the outside circumstances have a direct effect on your plant. If the greenhouse is then twice as high, that means that there is an air buffer between the top of the plants and the window opening. The air is mixed before it reaches the plant. So that's one of the reasons why we build higher greenhouses. Of course, it's also improving not only the climate, but also lighting strategies and all other things. Nowadays in this area, I think we have around, in total in the Netherlands, about 10,000 hectares of greenhouses. 50% is for growing vegetables and the other 50% for ornamentals and flowers. The 50% vegetables, the main crop is, let's say, almost 2,000 hectares of tomatoes, and the other crops are grown as still peppers, cucumbers, lettuce and all other crops in those greenhouses. And what I was trying to get to is that in this area we have about, I think, 2,500 to 3,000 hectares of glass greenhouses, making it the largest glass greenhouse area in the world at this moment. Very nearby is another area that's also a very big area, so together we have around 4,000 or 5,000 hectares of glass greenhouses in this area, in between the big cities, basically the Rotterdam, where we have the port that supports Europe, The Hague and Amsterdam. Most crops nowadays are transported basically to the United Kingdom or to Germany, but also to Russia and all over the world. So that was a short part of the history of the greenhouses. Now this is a nice overview of this area. So here on the back side we have the sea, I think, if I'm correct. And this is basically the Westland area where we see all the glass greenhouses. And you see that there are greenhouses with light and also without light. Also maybe nice to tell, in the past you could have a greenhouse of 2,000 square meters. You could be beneficial. Nowadays we see greenhouses that go for vegetables that go over 10 hectares per unit. So you also see that there is a very big scale up at the moment. Now the entire horticultural train represented in this Worldhoticen터. So the seed companies are connected. Greenhouse builders are here, and not only the building of the greenhouse itself, but also all the suppliers of the techniques inside for logistics, the water systems, and all the other techniques for opening and closing windows, for moving and transporting everything in and out the greenhouse, but also consulting and financing services are here. So it's basically a sort of turnkey place where you can stop and find everything you need for horticultural business. What we also do is we have education and R&D. breeding and propagation, primary production, sales and trade, and that's basically the 5 steps basically of our chain from basically the seed companies to the consumer. And as I already mentioned, we have everything inside, so not only the greenhouse itself, the structure, but also the energy, crop protection, but then mostly with beneficials, climate control systems, and processing and ICT as well. Now, what is 월드호티센터? It's a center built up of several compartments, but we are a leading center basically in high-tech greenhouse business. And we are hosting around 30,000 trade visitors per year in this facility. Due to the corona last year, we have been closed, but hopefully from this point on, we are getting visitors, and hopefully, if you're in the, if it's possible for you, you're welcome to visit this center, of course. In this center, we also included a school, so we have 1,200 talented students on secondary vocational education, but we're also well connected with the University of Applied Science and other educational institutes like universities. And that's not only agricultural universities, but a lot of also technical universities as well. And what makes it unique, it's a combination of a research facility, education, and demonstration in one part. So to get that a little bit more clear, this part, the green part, is the vocational school. When we went inside, we saw here that the canteen is here in the middle and the classrooms are there. I will show you one of the classrooms later on so you can see what they can do. Mainly it's focused on a 4-year program of education. The middle part, where we are standing in front of, is a permanent trade fair where there are 130 leading companies connected in this center. At the moment we are rebuilding the top floor, so hopefully in this year that will be finished, and then all the companies are represented again, but they are still connected to our facility. We have an auditorium where we can basically give big presentations for over 200 people. Of course, meeting rooms and a restaurant in this part. And last but not least, our research facility that we will also visit during the tour. We have around 35 to 40 compartments. I can show you, we can also make the compartments smaller or bigger. It's basically a practical research center where we do practical tests on plants, and that is a very wide range of tests. So it can be chemical products, biological products, testing on insects, new plants, new fertilizers, new growing systems, new artificial light. Everybody can do research in our facility. And we have an all-climate greenhouse that I will show you during the tour. The all-climate greenhouse is a special greenhouse where we can create every type of climate all over the world. So we can teach and train our students to grow wherever they want. Of course, the government is also involved. The municipality of the Westland, Netherlands Enterprise Agency, Innovation Quarter. So that's a company that's basically in creating robot systems, for example, or new innovations, so stimulating. And the province of the south of Holland are also involved in this facility, playing a role in opening the doors for you to come here, and also the other way around for our entrepreneurs to do business all over the world. And as you can see, the main part is that all parts work together. So the students help with research, they can learn from it for their study. In the middle we have all the technical companies that can use the research facilities for testing new techniques, and they can also basically explain that to the students again. Short about the school. We have here 12 to 1300 students. The age is from 15 to 20 years old, and they will be here in school for about 4 years. We have around 100 teachers, and the major tracks are horticulture, but also techniques, logistics, business administration, and healthcare. The Applied University Bachelor of Science, they come here for guest lectures, for research, for getting in contact with the companies. And academic levels, the cooperation with the universities is plant research, robotics, hackathons for business students where they can create new ideas together with companies. And for example, here, as you can see, this is already is finished, but the mission to Mars. So thinking of not growing on Earth, but how to grow somewhere else in the universe to see how far we can go. Very important is the greenhouse business is also working on their sustainable development goals. So some of these goals are really targeted by our sector. So zero hunger, for example, good quality education, improving nature, so by using less chemicals in our greenhouses, being more sustainable, and those kind of aspects. Now maybe it's also nice to show what we can do with our high-tech greenhouses. So this is tomatoes in water. So to give you an example, to produce 1 kilo of fresh tomatoes, for open field crop that would be about 60 liters to produce that kilo. For a greenhouse with recycling of water, 22 liters. For a greenhouse with recycling, it's on average about 10 liters. So that's what we have been doing already a long time. But with our high-tech greenhouses and our newest systems, we can grow a kilo of tomatoes only with 4 liters of water. So as you can see, there are very big steps to improve water usage in the world. Let's talk numbers. Now here we can see the official opening from our Queen Majesty. The opening was in 2018. Now this facility is about 20,000 square meters, 30,000 trade visitors per year, 86 different countries, so basically from all over the world, Europe, China, Korea, Japan, US, Mexico, Australia, 1,300 students daily. On this moment we have summer holiday, so that's why it's quite what is it? It's not busy. More than 130 companies that are connected to our center. And in 2019 we had 300 events, and due to Corona last year that was less, but and we did about 260 tours last year. Now what we can offer here is online tours and webinars, as you just, if you are now experiencing, onboarding. So if you have done, for example, your education, you come here, we can also train you in some parts of the high-tech greenhouses. And of course, we can bring you in contact with our partners. So we try to grow the future. Let's go inside and show you something about the greenhouse technique.